Hello and welcome to another video review. This is Unreal for PC and Mac. This was a first-person shooter developed by Epic Mega Games and Digital Extremes back in 1998, and it was released to great acclaim at the time. It was really hailed as a technical achievement more than a gaming achievement, and that was kind of an interesting thing because people look back on it and they say, oh, this game had amazing graphics at the time, but you never really hear anything else about it. So why is that? Is it really just kind of like Crysis, where it's just a milestone in graphics and technology, or is it really a good game? Well, let's find out. Now, while the engine itself would be more well known later on in games like Unreal Tournament and then later on Deus Ex, the Unreal Engine got its first official release here. It was actually in development for over 3 years prior to the release of this game. And so, there was a lot of work that went into this, and it did pay off quite well at the time. The graphics for the time are absolutely phenomenal, and they still actually don't look that bad. The art style is really what propels it forward, though. I mean, it has a very, very nice art style to it. Everything's very vibrant. Colors pop out at you. And at the same time, it still looks somewhat realistic. So, for the time, it looked absolutely amazing, but nowadays we look back at it and say, oh yeah, it looks like horrible. Because it does have those early 90s era problems with it. Well, not even the early 90s, late 90s era problems with the 3D. The modeling is really jagged and awkward. The animations are pretty crappy. Textures in general are very low res. And this is meant to be played at a lower resolution anyway, so it's not like, you know, the game was designed to look like crap or anything. No, it actually was a very big technical achievement at the time. But it really hasn't aged all that well. There are some things in there that you look at and you're like, ugh. But other things, not so much. I mean, the characters themselves actually don't look terrible, except for the fact that their textures are really smudged in a low res. But it's really the environment that shines here, because the environments still hold up very well today. Just from an artistic standpoint, not necessarily from a technical standpoint, but artistic-wise. Then you have the sound design, which is kind of all over the place. Sound effects themselves basically just do their job, and that's about it. There's nothing really noteworthy here. I mean, explosions sound like explosions, gunshots sound like gunshots, sci-fi weapons sound like sci-fi weapons, aliens sound like aliens. I mean, it's all that kind of stuff. There's basically no voice acting to speak of. You get a little bit, but not too much. Mostly limited to grunts and yells. And so it's really just nothing special. Music is a really mixed bag. There are some tracks that are actually really well done. I do like the Unreal theme and how it really fits the game well. But overall, the music itself is just kind of generic music that's meant to be both atmospheric and action-y at the same time. And it does that job fairly well, but there's really not a lot that's memorable about it. But then we come to the story and the gameplay. Now, story is basically you are a prisoner on a prison ship which gets pulled into this planet. Later you find out the planet is Napali, which is the home of this four-armed alien race known as the Nali. And these reptilian aliens known as the Scar, S-K-A-R-J, are brutish thugs that are basically just trying to slaughter you and any of the other survivors from the crash-landed ship, as well as basically enslave the populace and that kind of thing. And so, basically what happens is you fight for survival the entire time. And to be honest with you, that was after looking this up. If you just went off the story from the in-game, you'd probably have no idea what was going on. Because the storytelling in this game is frankly terrible. It tells you basically nothing. You really have to dig deep to find out what the story itself is. Otherwise, you're just going from level to level, shooting anything in your path, and that's about it. In a lot of cases, you wouldn't even know you're not supposed to kill the Nali. And you don't even know what the Nali are. They're just these four-armed creatures that you happen to see, and your first instinct is to blast anything that moves, because that's just the way the first-person shooters operated back then. So, when you're sitting there going through this, and you encounter these Nali, you encounter the Scar, I mean, it's surprisingly not that memorable. The problem I had with this was that it's really just a generic first-person shooter that really doesn't do anything different in the gameplay that really makes it noteworthy. It does have some pretty decent multiplayer. I mean, that they would later expand on that and make it absolutely amazing in Unreal Tournament, but it's really just nothing special. I mean, you'll see, if you've played other Unreal games, you'll see things that were kept from that, like the flat cannon, for instance, or they would later turn the rifle into the sniper rifle and so on and so forth. But there's really just nothing here that screams out, this is a great game, you must play it. I'd say you might want to play it if you're a first-person shooter fan or an Unreal fan, just for the sake of the historical value of it. But other than that, I really didn't have that much fun with Unreal. I mean, it's just a kind of an average shooter. The mechanics themselves are a little clunky sometimes. You feel like you're not moving fluidly enough, or you'll feel like the shooting mechanic might need a little work or something like that. The weapon selection in general is fairly unimpressive. It's just kind of generic sci-fi-y normal weapons, actually. There really aren't that many exciting new weapons. I mean, you get the shock rifle and the shard gun, but that's kind of it. 8-ball gun's kind of fun, but there's really just not a lot to offer you in terms of gameplay. Now, like I said, this is definitely a technical game more than it is a game. And one thing they really could have done is just expounded on that multiplayer, because it is kind of clever the way they've designed it. It does lead into Unreal Tournament, and they did catch on to that, and they did make Unreal Tournament. So, as a groundwork game, like as a framework for later on, Unreal is definitely something worth checking out, just to see how things were progressing. But it's not that fun of a game. So, I will put links in the video description box to where you can get it. But if you really aren't a fan of first-person shooters, or if you're not a fan of the Unreal Tournament franchise, you might want to avoid it.